There's a man in a diner in Vermont sitting alone eating the same thing he eats every single day: an English muffin with peanut butter. His jacket has a safety pin holding it together at the seam. His shoes are old. His car outside is a second-hand Toyota, the kind you forget the second it passes you on the highway. One time, a stranger at that diner felt so bad for him, they quietly paid for his meal. They thought he couldn't afford it. He let them. This man spent his life as a gas station attendant, and later, a part-time janitor at a department store. He never made more than a modest hourly wage. Not once. And when he died, his family sat down to read his will. And that's when they found out the truth. He was worth $8 million. No lottery ticket, no inheritance, no business he built in secret, just a janitor's paycheck, and something he did with it that almost nobody else does. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly what he did. And it's not what you think. If I ask you to picture how someone becomes a millionaire, I bet I know what shows up in your head. A startup that gets acquired for millions. A crypto coin that goes up 2,000%. Somebody's rich uncle passing along the family fortune. Maybe a guy in a rented Lamborghini telling you to leverage debt to build wealth fast. That's the story we've all been sold. Here's the problem. Somebody actually checked. A financial research team ran the largest study of millionaires ever conducted. Over 10,000 of them. And what they found broke almost every assumption people have about getting rich. Only 15% of these millionaires held a senior executive job, like a CEO or a vice president. And 79% of them didn't inherit a single dollar from their family, not 1 cent. So if it's not the corner office and it's not family money, what is it? Here's where it gets almost insulting. The top careers among these millionaires weren't hedge fund managers or tech founders. They were engineers, accountants, teachers, people with completely ordinary jobs who did something extraordinarily unglamorous with their paychecks. And that's the part nobody wants to hear because it's not exciting enough to go viral. These people weren't smarter than everyone else. They weren't luckier. They just made a small number of different choices and repeated them for years without stopping. So let's get into it. 10 habits. Every one of them is boring enough that you'd scroll past it on your feed. And every one of them is powerful enough to be the reason a janitor died richer than most doctors. Let's start with the first one. Habit 1. Start before you feel ready. Most people are waiting for a signal to start investing. A bigger paycheck, a better job, some future version of themselves who finally has it together. That day doesn't come. It never does. There's always a reason to wait one more month. Our janitor started in 1959, buying a small number of shares in a power company. He had no finance degree. No index funds existed yet, not like today. He just had a library card and a decision to not wait. He didn't start because the moment was perfect. He started because he decided the moment didn't need to be. Habit 2. Automate before you can talk yourself out of it. Here's something most people don't realize about themselves. You are not as disciplined as you think you are. Nobody is. Every single month, your brain gets a chance to talk you out of saving. A new pair of shoes shows up online. A friend suggests a trip. And suddenly, the money that was supposed to go into your future has a new destination. The fix isn't more willpower. It's removing the decision entirely. When money moves to savings and investments automatically, the moment of temptation simply never arrives. You can't spend what you never see. Habit 3. Live quietly below what you're capable of spending. Here's something about our janitor his own neighbors didn't know. For every $50 he earned, he was putting away 40 of it. 80%. That safety pin holding his jacket together wasn't a sign he was poor. It was the opposite. It was the exact habit that was quietly making him rich, one unnoticed dollar at a time. Most people think frugality means missing out. He didn't see it that way. He saw every dollar he didn't spend as a dollar that got to keep working for him instead of some store owner. Habit 4. Cap your housing before it caps you. Picture a 22-year-old engineer, fresh out of college, landing his first job. $89,000 a year. Feels like a fortune after years of ramen noodles. The natural move is to go find the nicest apartment that number can technically afford. That's the mistake almost everyone makes. The habit that actually builds wealth looks different. Cap your rent at 25% of what you take home or less. Not because you can't afford more, but because everything above that number is stealing from your future net worth without you noticing. The apartment that makes your friends impressed is often the exact one keeping you broke. Habit 5. Don't let the raise find your bank account. You get a raise, $10,000 more a year, and something strange happens in your brain that you never consciously agreed to. You suddenly feel like you've earned the right to spend more. A nicer car, more takeout, a few new subscriptions. Nobody sat down and decided this. It just happens. Psychologists have a name for it. It's called the hedonic treadmill. You keep upgrading your life just to feel the same amount of happy you already felt before the raise. Here's the number that should bother you. If you took half of that $10,000 raise and invested it instead, at a normal market return, it could grow into over $500,000 by the time you retire. Spend it instead, and it's just gone. Forever. Habit 6. Let the money make more money. Here's the habit that turned our janitor's small stock purchases into an $8 million fortune. He didn't just buy shares. When those companies paid him dividends, he didn't pocket the cash. He bought more shares with it. Over and over for decades. Each payout buying a slightly bigger slice of the next payout. It's a snowball rolling downhill, except the hill never ends, and nobody's watching it happen except him. This one habit, quietly repeated for 50 years, is the actual engine behind the $8 million. Not a stock tip, not luck. Just refusing to stop the snowball. Habit 7. Fight for the money that's already yours. Most people open their internet bill, see it went up $20, and just pay it. Same with insurance. Same with half the subscriptions quietly draining their account every month. Here's the uncomfortable truth. That $20 a month is identical in value to $20 you had to go earn at a job. Most people will work an extra shift before they'll make one phone call to lower a bill. A 5-minute conversation done a few times a year can free up hundreds of dollars annually. Money you already had. You just weren't asking for it back. Habit 8. Never bet the house on one favorite. It's tempting to find the one stock everyone's talking about and go all in. It feels smart in the moment. It feels like you found the secret. Our janitor never did that. By the time he passed away, he owned 95 different companies, not because he was being cautious for the sake of it, but because he understood something most people learn the hard way. You don't know which ones will win. Nobody does. Habit 9. Stay in the game when it gets scary. Now here's where the story gets uncomfortable, because one of those 95 companies was Lehman Brothers. In 2008, Lehman Brothers collapsed completely, became worthless overnight. It was one of the most terrifying financial events in modern history, and this quiet janitor in Vermont owned a piece of the company at the center of it. Most people, watching a company they invested in implode on the news, would panic, sell everything, swear off the stock market forever. He didn't, because that one collapsing company was just one piece of 95. It barely moved the needle. The habit of spreading his money out is exactly what let him sit still while the world panicked around him.